September 3rd, 1940, near Newmarket, England. The air is thick with fog and the sound of distant anti-aircraft fire. On a quiet field just after dawn, a farmer hears something strange, the faint flutter of silk in the mist. Moments later, a parachute drifts through the gray sky and collapses into the wet grass. The man attached to it struggles to his feet, brushing mud from his Luftwaffe-style boots. Around his neck hangs a small metal cylinder. Inside are maps, invisible ink, and a radio codebook stamped with a black eagle. The man is Wolf Schmidt, codename Leonard. A trained agent of the Abwehr, German military intelligence. He's been dropped into Britain to report on RAF airfields and troop movements. He's told Berlin that the island is chaotic, terrified, ready to break. But as he fumbles with his parachute harness, he doesn't realize the truth. Britain is already waiting for him. Within hours, MI5 intercepts a phone call from a nearby post office. A local constable has detained a foreign gentleman who couldn't explain his papers. Schmidt is taken quietly to Latchmere House, an interrogation facility in South London known to its staff as Camp 020. Its commander, Colonel Robin Tin Eye Stevens, greets him with cold efficiency. A single glass-eye glints in the lamplight. Stevens doesn't shout. He simply listens. For 2 days he studies Schmidt's behavior, testing his story for cracks. "You're a soldier," he tells him. "You serve your country. I respect that. But Germany has lied to you. You are fighting for men who will throw you away." By the third night, Schmidt breaks. He agrees to cooperate. His radio transmitter is reassembled under British control, his codebook returned. And when his first message to Hamburg goes out, "Arrived safely. Beginning operations," it is the British who press the key. The signal is perfect. Berlin replies with new orders. A German spy has been captured and reborn. Wolf Schmidt is no longer Leonard. He is now Agent Tate, the first of dozens of German operatives who will become the instruments of one of the greatest counterintelligence operations in modern history, the double-cross system. From this moment on, every German spy who lands in Britain will face the same choice: betrayal or death. And most will choose betrayal. Winter 1941. Latchmere House, London. The corridors smell of damp wool and cigarette smoke. Behind a reinforced oak door, Colonel Robin Tin Eye Stevens stands over a long table covered in files and decoded transmissions. Around him, a handful of officers from MI5's B Division pore over maps of Britain, tracing the movements of men who don't exist anymore. On paper, they are the Abwehr's finest: trained infiltrators, cryptographers, saboteurs. In reality, every one of them now reports to the British. Their messages, written in invisible ink and transmitted on German frequencies, are crafted not in safe houses or attics, but here, in this room, under Stevens' relentless control. At the far end of the table sits John Masterman, an Oxford historian turned spy master. Quiet, bespectacled, and methodical, he's building a network so intricate that even Berlin cannot tell truth from invention. He calls it the double-cross system, XX for short. Every captured German agent, if cooperative, will send information back to the Reich under MI5 supervision. The content will be half true, half false, and wholly under British design. Stevens calls it war by imagination. The early successes are startling. Agent Snow, a Polish-born seaman named Arthur Owens, becomes the first to relay misinformation about British radar and aircraft production. His reports convince the Abwehr that Britain's radar defense is weak and scattered. The Germans begin targeting decoy stations while real chain-home towers remain untouched. Then comes Agent Tricycle, a Serbian playboy named Dusan Popov, who feeds Berlin a steady diet of Allied disinformation while lounging in London clubs. Popov's charm wins him everything: dinners with officers, drinks with diplomats, even an audience with Ian Fleming, the future creator of James Bond. He warns the Americans in August 1941 that Japan is preparing a major naval strike, a warning lost in bureaucracy months before Pearl Harbor. By 1942, MI5 controls dozens of these turned agents. Their transmissions crisscross Europe, painting a carefully crafted portrait of British vulnerability and false troop movements. Stevens and Masterman turn deception into science. The XX Committee, meeting every Wednesday in a nondescript London office, reviews every word before it goes out over the airwaves. On one wall, a blackboard lists their successes like victories in a silent campaign. Snow, active. Tate, reliable. Tricycle, fully trusted by the Abwehr. The Germans, oblivious, shower their agents with praise and cash. Thousands of Reichsmarks arrive via diplomatic courier for men who are now MI5's employees. The British Treasury quietly pockets the funds. Yet Stevens knows the cost of a single slip. One inconsistency in a message, one mistranslated code phrase, and Berlin will smell betrayal. So he drills his agents relentlessly, forcing them to write, speak, and even think like loyal Germans. Some break under pressure, others vanish into silence. Their deaths reported back to the Reich in solemn Morse. By late 1942, the double-cross system has achieved what no other intelligence agency in history had: total control over its enemy's espionage network. Every German spy in Britain now answers to London. But the true test is still to come, for in the coming year, Britain will need to orchestrate the greatest deception of all, one that must fool not just generals, but Hitler himself. And every lie these agents tell will build toward that single, decisive moment. Spring 1944, London. The air vibrates with the low drone of aircraft training over southern England. The invasion of Europe is coming, but only a handful of men know when or where. For the rest, war becomes a theater of illusions, and the double-cross agents, its cast of ghosts. Inside a dim office on St. James's Street, the X Committee gathers around a long wooden table. The blackout curtains are drawn tight, maps and models scattered across its surface. Sir John Masterman points to a stretch of French coastline. "Gentlemen," he says, "our task is to convince the Germans that the invasion will land here, Calais, not Normandy." This deception, codenamed Operation Fortitude, depends entirely on the credibility of their double agents. And in that moment, MI5's intricate web, years in the making, becomes Britain's most powerful weapon. Agent Garbo, the Spanish double agent Juan Pujol Garcia, transmits from a London flat under MI5's supervision, spinning a vast fictional network of 27 sub-agents. His reports are masterpieces of detail: troop movements, convoy schedules, whispers of an army group assembling under General George S. Patton in southeast England. None of it is true. In another safe house, Agent Tatty, Wolf Schmidt, radios Hamburg, reporting inflated numbers of landing craft in Dover. Meanwhile, Agent Brutus, a Polish officer working for MI5, sends word that Allied divisions in Scotland are preparing to invade Norway, another phantom operation. Each lie is carefully timed, cross-referenced, and echoed by the others. A single message might describe troops departing Dover, another awaiting orders at Folkestone, while RAF reconnaissance aircraft deliberately allow themselves to be spotted, photographing empty airfields. Fake tanks made of canvas and timber line the coast. Inflatable landing craft bob in quiet harbors. The illusion becomes real enough to be photographed by Luftwaffe reconnaissance planes. By May 1944, German intelligence is convinced. Abwehr-decrypts show high confidence that the Allies will land at Calais. Field Marshal von Rundstedt orders the 15th Army, over 150,000 men, to remain stationed there. Even Adolf Hitler, briefed by his generals, declares Normandy to be a feint. Meanwhile, in reality, thousands of ships assemble silently along England's southern ports. The true invasion force hides in plain sight, protected by lies. At Bletchley Park, British codebreakers intercept and decrypt frantic German messages. They still believe fortitude, one analyst whispers. The room bursts into quiet applause. On June 6th, as Allied forces storm Normandy's beaches under relentless fire, German reserves remain frozen at Calais. For nearly 7 weeks, Hitler refuses to redeploy them, certain that Patton's 1st U.S. Army Group will strike at any moment. The double-cross network keeps the illusion alive, sending post-invasion messages assuring Berlin that Normandy is only a diversion. "Main landing imminent," reads one of Garbo's transmissions. "Calais attack expected within days." In Berlin, the Abwehr congratulates Garbo for his service. Hitler awards him the Iron Cross for his loyalty to the Reich, a medal signed in the Führer's own hand and delivered to London by diplomatic courier. Garbo laughs softly when he reads it. "He decorates the man who deceived him," he says. By the time the 15th Army finally moves south, the war has already shifted. Paris will fall within weeks. The double-cross network, the invisible army of liars, has achieved in silence what fleets and divisions could not. It has rewritten the battlefield. The operation's success is total. Not a single German agent in Britain remains loyal to Berlin. Every radio signal, every piece of intelligence Germany receives from the UK is written, edited, and approved by MI5. As Allied soldiers push inland through the hedgerows of Normandy, the men and women of the X-Committee sit in their smoke-filled room, listening to the last echoes of their deception cross the airwaves. Coded words, traveling to an empire that still believes its spies are loyal. Stevens, the interrogator who started it all, stubs out his cigarette. "We've just won a war," he says, "with men who never fired a shot."